Good afternoon and welcome to the 128th Williamsburg Economic Business Development Roundtable. We are very glad that you have chosen to join us this afternoon. We are recording this session for people if they want to watch it later or other attendees. My name is Rick Overy. I'm the Vice Chair of the Economic Development Authority and pleased to be your host. I'm a local business owner as well. Our agenda today is to have a presentation by Robert Curie, who is the Director of Entertainment for Colonial Williamsburg. And then we'll turn it over to City Economic Development Director Michelle DeWitt to give us a brief update on economic development in the city. We want to recognize that this is a very difficult time for many of our businesses. The restaurant survey, recovery survey came out in the last week, and this is just a very difficult time for our hospitality industry. So we think it's a particularly good time to have Robert on to talk about what Colonial Williamsburg is doing, particularly in evening and special event programming to bring back guests to our area. One of the things I would think was clear in the restaurant survey is with Busch Gardens and Colonial Williamsburg not bringing as many visitors to town, it has been very hard on particularly our hotel and restaurant businesses. So we recognize that. There are a number of grants and people who are in place to continue to help you with your business, and we hope that you'll take advantage of those. Our staff has been excellent at putting out the resources that are available through the chamber, through the Small Business Administration, and even through the city for grants, tax benefits, and the like. So we continue to encourage you to take advantage of those, but we want you to know that we are here as the EDA and the city to support existing businesses during this crisis. Long term, certainly our goal is to attract new businesses to the area, but at this point we really want to focus on maintaining our current businesses and supporting business owners through this crisis. So I want to introduce Robert. One of the longtime challenges, I think, for Colonial Williamsburg has been evening programming. Many of us remember when the city used to roll up the carpet at 5 o'clock. And over the last decade, it strikes me that we've made really wonderful improvements in that area. And Robert has been a key person in that development. He came to us in 2016 to the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation, and he manages all aspects of business development, content logistics for the evening programs and special events for Colonial Williamsburg. He has a wonderful background in New York. He, for 9 years, was the owner of a small business himself, so certainly understands the what small business owners face, running a business called Fresh Art Long Island, working with emerging artists there as founder, owner, and curator of that enterprise. He also has a background, a neat background in special events, particularly with set design and prop generation with large organizations such as Discovery Channel, Lucky Magazine, and the like. So years of experience in special events on the operations side, and then almost a decade of being a small business owner brings unique talent to Colonial Williamsburg with Robert. So Robert, you've entitled your presentation today, Evening Events, Evening Entertainment and Special Events. We're really glad to have you on today to the roundtable to talk about what's going on in CW.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate the very nice introduction. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. All set there?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for having me. Today, I just kind of want to talk about what we mean by evening entertainment, particularly evening programs, go over what our special events are, kind of give an overview of what we have to offer. I want to talk about the particular challenges that we're all facing, Colonial Williamsburg included, as business owners and as a destination for vacationers and travelers. And then I kind of want to talk about where I think we're headed and just how I think that Colonial Williamsburg's entertainment, special events, and evening programs can help support local business as well. So Some folks might be very familiar with evening programs, some others might not. So evening programs are an extension of the Colonial Williamsburg guest experience beyond the normal business hours. We have a mix of school group programs like the African American Music Ensemble. We have a program called Papa Said, Mama Said, which is an African American storytelling program, In Defense of Our Liberty, and Revolutionary Residence programs. At the Capitol, we offer 7 nights a week theatrical trial programs. What's cool about evening programs is that while guests are in the historic area during the day, during normal business hours, at night we get to have a little bit more fun. We get to kind of impact the educational mission within entertainment. So we get to kind of loosen up and experiment a little bit more. We also have an escape room experience, which takes place at the historic jail. At the Palace, we've sort of gone ahead and rebranded our evening Palace experience, offering 18th century dance experiences as well as 18th century music concerts. These are all particularly very popular programs and particularly sell very, very well. Also, one of our most popular programs, obviously, is the Haunted Williamsburg Ghost Tour. Its little brother tour is also the Ghost Walk Junior Tour, which is perfect for families with kids 4 to 7 years old. The Haunted Williamsburg Ghost Tour is a big part of our business. It's a big attractor. Really, we try to implant ourselves with 18th century source materials that can trace back to the Gazette and other source materials. Evening programs, aside from being an extension of the guest experience for Colonial Williamsburg visitors, does generate revenue. That revenue and that net contribution directly supports the daytime mission of education and historical research for the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation by helping to offset some of the operational expenses. So we do approach our evening programs as a business. And I think when we came in 2016, 2017, we kind of really vetted all the programming and started to run it as a business. And that's been very, very successful. You can see kind of where we came in 2017, what we've been able to do over the last 3 years. In 2019, we sold 132,000 tickets for evening programs. So we saw some really healthy growth going on there. Aside from the evening programs, the flip side of some of my responsibilities, I have an excellent team. We call them the Lean Mean Event Machine. A small, tight crew that includes Bill Skimmerhorn, formerly of Macy's Day Parade back in New York, who we work together to produce and operationalize all of Colonial Williamsburg's special and signature events. Our seasonal events, which kick off in the spring with the Palace Garden Party, move over to July 4th. We have our big Haunting on Dog Street Halloween trick-or-treating celebration, and culminating with a spectacular holiday program, which everybody's very familiar with, which is the Grand Illumination. Special events for Colonial Williamsburg bring in an estimated 65 to 75,000 visitors annually. And I know that folks, local business owners, can definitely see the impact probably by missing July 4th this past year. So where we found ourselves this year, it was very interesting when the first event that we had coming up that we had to kind of figure out what we were going to do was Memorial Day. And this was back in March. And our team quickly sort of pivoted along with Anna Cordell, who's here on this meeting, to kind of conceptualize and produce Colonial Williamsburg's first virtual Memorial Day commemoration. And we filmed that in multiple segments, maintaining all social distancing and safety protocols, and edited it all together and broadcasted it on the morning of May 25th. And it was incredibly well received. So it was an interesting experiment to kind of see how we were going to kind of live in this new normal and still reach our audience, albeit virtually. What's been interesting is that Colonial Williamsburg has been incredibly successful in leveraging its digital platforms to continue to reach its audience and create new audiences. An article that was just published a few days ago in Yahoo Finance listed Colonial Williamsburg as the 5th in the 5 top best travel brands of Facebook video views, netting nearly 1.6 million in views in June alone. And you can see the video over there on the right of your screen is a recent video that we produced back in mid-June of an 18th century tailor showing folks how to get dressed, which is now at about 2.2 million views. So despite having been closed down for a relatively long time, probably the longest in our history, and kind of coming back and figuring out a way to operationalize the historic area during this phase 3 protocols, Colonial Williamsburg has been very successful in pivoting its operation, using its digital platforms to continue to make an impact with guests throughout the country and throughout the world. So where do we go now? So virtual reach is fantastic for continuing our mission, to continuing to stay engaged with our guests and our audience. But what's that going to do for local business, and what's that going to do for driving volume into our historic area? The way I see it is that Colonial Williamsburg has continued to sort of stay relevant throughout this whole time. It's stayed in contact and communication. As things begin to loosen up, hopefully, whether it's in 6 months or whether or not it's in a year, and folks start traveling, they're going to remember Colonial Williamsburg. They're going to have that in their mind. They're going to consider coming here. What we propose to do, and what our long-term plan for evening programs has been for 3 years, is to bring the 18th century streets to life at night. One of the things that the Halloween special event has taught me is that Colonial Williamsburg is an incredibly magical place at night. And the experience of walking around the historic area at night is completely different than it is during the day. There's a magical atmosphere. So this year, when we had July 4th, and we knew we weren't going to be able to do the July 4th fireworks for the community, we did the ringing of the bells at 5 o'clock. And that was a really special ceremony that we did in conjunction with the Wren Building over at the College of William and Mary, Bruton Parish Church, First Baptist Church, and had bells ringing simultaneously at the courthouse in the Capitol. When we closed at 5 o'clock, later on that evening at about 8:30, we filled the streets with cressets, and probably more cressets than I've ever seen on the streets, even considering Grand Illumination or 4th of July. I mean, it was packed with cressets. And we didn't advertise it, and we wanted people just to kind of stumble upon it and walk in and sort of discover it. And we had a couple of bands of 18th century strolling musicians, and the atmosphere was just breathtaking. Ron Hurst, I heard, who is our chief curator over at the Art Museums, walked through the historic area at night, and he had told Beth Kelly, our senior vice president of ERHI, that the historic area never looked better. And folks were taking pictures with their families, and they were just enjoying the music and having fun. What we plan to do and plan to test this probably during the holidays and try and make this a sustained sort of destination event is to bring the streets to life at night, to transform the guest experience. By doing that in the evening, we will accomplish bringing more feet on the street and increase overnight visitation. I saw the recent video that you all did and the recent talk that Victoria Simino from the Williamsburg Tourism Council gave with you all, and her primary charge is to increase overnight visitation. Well, I think increasing the entertainment that we do at night and giving folks a reason to come and visit Colonial Williamsburg beyond 5 o'clock will help to achieve that greatly. Inviting people to explore the historic area, engaging with the community, and creating memories with loved ones are just a few of the strategies that we're going to employ to do this. So that is my presentation. That's kind of where we're going. There's a magical element to the evenings at Colonial Williamsburg. We plan on expanding upon that and bringing more people to Colonial Williamsburg at night.
Robert, thank you so much for your presentation. We're lucky to have you in Colonial Williamsburg and developing the programming that you talked about. I love the tagline at the bottom there, feeding the human spirit by sharing America's enduring story. And it strikes me there may never have been a more important time for that than the current situation, but also maintaining the relevance through the digital impact. Those are all fairly new for Colonial Williamsburg, for those of us who've been around for some decades. So some very exciting developments with what you're doing, the expertise that you bring. A couple questions for you. How can we as businesses support your efforts and keep CW or help CW to reach its goals to attract more visitors and to activate the streets at night?
Well, I think it's a mutually beneficial thing here. So it's obviously doing stuff at night is going to benefit Colonial Williamsburg, but it's once we start bringing in more people at night, they're going to be bringing their friends and their families and walking the streets. They're going to go and get ice cream. They're going to go and get dinner. They're going to go and get drinks. Volume in the streets is going to have a trickle down effect for conversion for food and beverage business and for retail. So I think for local businesses to be aware of what we have to offer, to be able to inform their guests will be incredibly important. Because I think that guests knowing, hey, if we go to Colonial Williamsburg, we can walk through at night, we can go to dinner, and then we can go see the Cressets and the musicians in the streets at night. It's very inviting. It creates sort of a holistic experience for guests to be able to have that extension of entertainment and visitation in Colonial Williamsburg.
It strikes me one thing we can do as local business owners and even as residents is to go and attend. I walk often in the evening in Colonial Williamsburg, and it is magical with the Cressets up. But attend some of these programs, whether it's the ghost tours or dancing in the Governor's Palace. Some of us haven't done those for a while, and it would be good to revisit them. It sounds like some of them have been reinvented. I noticed again in the restaurant survey that the restaurants noticed that locals were supporting their establishments and that has carried them through. So it strikes me one of the things we can do as members of the business community is to support these by attending ourselves, and then we're better ambassadors for these programs in talking to others. We've also heard there's planning for a grand reopening coming out of COVID-19. So can you give us a little sneak peek about that, and again, how we might be able to help with the reopening of Colonial Williamsburg?
Sure. So this kind of started back in March. I mean, it pretty much started the day that Colonial Williamsburg shut down, and we kind of had to figure out how we're going to plan for the future. Anybody who does special events knows that it takes months and months of planning and preparation to do special events. So, you're trying to read the tea leaves and shake your magic 8 ball of what's going to happen, at the end of the week. It becomes very difficult. When we knew that July 4th was in question, meaning the large event on Palace Green and the fireworks, CW quickly reached out to local special event community leaders. That includes folks from William and Mary, the city manager's office, the folks from Virginia Arts Fest, Steve Rose from Culture Fix, and we all have regular meetings to kind of share information, share ideas. We're kind of all in this together. As we want to support the community of Williamsburg. So we kind of started to take what we were going to do for July 4th and sort of pivot that to when it's safe and when we can do something big for the community, we'll work together to deliver that. So really, to my knowledge, this is the first time that all these entities kind of meet regularly, work together for a common good to try and make sure that we are supporting the community as best we can. So nothing definitive yet. Obviously, things are still up in the air, but we're talking about ideas and things are progressing really well. The sharing of knowledge has been really, really productive. So we're really excited for the future.
Well, Williamsburg has been a strange place with not as many visitors and not as many students, but I think it has brought us together. And I think you're right. It's not just at the top level, but people talking the city and the college and Colonial Williamsburg at multiple levels. And that was probably happening before the COVID crisis in terms of the leadership, but this has really accelerated it. And we are all in it together. We're codependent. Williamsburg would not be Williamsburg without Colonial Williamsburg, the guests, visitors, and the same is true of the college and the students. So we thank you for your role in this. It's exciting, and you're just really into the first couple chapters, hopefully, of your time here in bringing exciting new programming to Colonial Williamsburg. So we thought it would be a good time during the summer to get a flavor of what you're doing and what you're planning and the progress that you've already made. We thank you for all three of those. So thank you for being with us and sharing with our guests. We've got about 30 business leaders on the line to hear what you've got to say. So thank you so much for your time and expertise.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. And I would encourage anybody who has questions to reach out to Robert and also see how you can get involved in supporting these great activities. And at this point, I want to turn it over to Michelle DeWitt, our Economic Development Director, for an update on the things that the city is doing to support local businesses in our community. Michelle?
Thank you, Rick. Hello, everyone. I'm going to speak of a vision that I've had that several of you have heard, but while I'm pulling up my screen to share, one of my dreams is to bring the concept of the Cressets into beyond the historic area into downtown, and trying to find a modern version. We can't burn wood downtown. We don't have the manpower, but is there a way to modernize that and bring that downtown so that becomes an element of our whole downtown, which I think would be really exciting. So if there's anyone out there who's an electrical engineer or knows somebody or has any thoughts about that, please share those with us. And what I'm going to talk about today, and thank you, Robert, again for the wonderful presentation. I wanted to highlight 3 things today with our businesses. One is to remind you that there's still a Virginia 30-day grant. There's still funds available for that. That's a $3,000 grant for businesses who've been impacted by COVID-19. If you go to our website, which you can see the link right here, there's details about that. It does require you to upload a little bit of video about your business, and if you need help with that, please reach out to us. We're happy to help you with that. But there are still funds in that grant program just for Williamsburg businesses. We were blessed that the community, the EDA led the way, providing money to the Community Foundation for that, and then several community members have donated and continue to donate to that fund. Many of them donating their stimulus check to that fund because they know, as you said earlier, Rick, locals really want to help our businesses be successful and get through this. So please take a look at that. The second is a grant that we almost have from the state that will provide a $5,000 reimbursement to city businesses for any expenses they had related to COVID-19. So that could be many, many things. I think it'd be pretty easy to get to the $5,000 threshold for reimbursement there. A couple of the criteria are that you'll need to be a city business with a 2020 city business license. And the other criteria, which comes from the state, is that you must have 20 or fewer employees. So we're going to be as liberal as we can in that. And if at any point, if you normally have more than 20 employees, but if at any point during COVID you drop down to 20 or fewer, you will qualify. So don't let that eligibility requirement keep you from applying for the grant. If you did drop down to lower employment, which many people did since March, you can be eligible. And then thirdly, we're doing virtual office hours, which has been very well received. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 3, we hang out in a Ring Central Zoom chat, much like this one. You're welcome to come in, have a confidential conversation, or if you want to have a group conversation, that's available as well. And as I announced that, I do want to emphasize you can call, text, or email us anytime, but sometimes people feel more comfortable during the virtual office hours, knowing that we're on standby to assist. Again, our hearts and minds are out to everyone getting through COVID-19. Thank you everyone for their support of businesses, and thank you businesses for being so creative and so resilient in getting through this. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And I just want to compliment our team, your team, Yuri and Joanna also. There is a whole alphabet soup of grants and different size, different qualifications. And these folks are expert in those and working full-time to make sure that businesses do get to take advantage of those. I've talked to business owners who are still not aware of all the different kinds of things that are available. And some of them are small. We understand that the expenses are big. So, some people have not applied because they don't think it makes a big enough dent. But some of them are larger, like the one that focuses on people. So I would encourage you to reach out to the staff and make sure that you are getting the help that you're entitled to, and we want to help you carry through. And then I would encourage you all, please take advantage of the downtown outdoor seating that we have along Prince George Street to support our local restaurants and around the rest of town along Richmond Road 2nd Street and the Northwest Triangle. Please support our local businesses. Continue to do it. It makes a difference, and they are very aware of that. So we are all in this together. We thank you so much for joining us today. Look forward to seeing you in the future. Please make it a great day to do business in Williamsburg. Thanks.